Hey, I'm Mordy Oberstein, head of SEO brand at Wix.
And I'm Crystal Carter, head of SEO communications at Wix. We'll be your dedicated guides to all things SEO on Wix Studio.
We'll take you through the built-in SEO tools that come with every website and how they can help you work smarter for your clients and stakeholders. We'll break down the best ways to approach keyword research, on-page SEO, local SEO, link building, reporting, and analytics.
We'll be showing you how Wix Studio helps you take control of a website's technical SEO. You'll learn how to review SEO settings, sitemaps, site crawls, and more. Plus, I'll help you understand how to maintain great technical SEO without a ton of busy work. For example, you'll learn how Wix Studio helps you implement bulk 301 redirects and quickly identify issues that could affect how pages rank in search results.
We'll also be explaining how to integrate Wix Studio websites with helpful tools like Google Search Console and Semrush, so you have even more capabilities and insights at your fingertips. So let's get to it. Knowing what SEO tools are available to you in Wix Studio can be a game changer for executing your client's on-page SEO strategy. In this lesson, we'll cover 2 tools you can use. Let's start with the SEO Setup Checklist. The SEO Setup Checklist does 3 things for you. It helps you organize the foundational SEO tasks for your client site's most important pages. It lets you do keyword research without leaving Wix Studio. And it gives you the option to connect to GSC in 1 click. And it has Google instantly index your client site's homepage. One thing to keep in mind, this checklist just scratches the surface of SEO. It's where a site's SEO journey begins, but not where it ends. So to start with on-page SEO tools, head to the top of the SEO dashboard under SEO Assistant. To get started with the checklist, you'll need to follow these prompts to describe your client's business and focus, including choosing a keyword to hone in on, specifically on the homepage. This is the first place you'll see our integration with Semrush. Once you connect the site to Semrush, you can run an analysis for any keyword in a specific market to see data like monthly search volumes, intent, and keyword difficulty. Once you pick a keyword, the checklist will walk you through the basic SEO tasks for the site's main pages. This will include on-page items like optimizing the title tag and meta description. You can even have AI write your title tag and description by clicking here. Once you've finished the checklist, you'll be asked to connect to Google Search Console. This helps get your site indexed quickly so that your site can appear in search results. Once you've completed the SEO checklist, it's also worth checking out the SEO Assistant to see if there are any outstanding issues you should fix. Just click here to view outstanding tasks. You'll see that each task is marked according to a priority level. While all of these suggestions are there to help with optimization, it's best to at least complete the critical and medium level tasks. While this won't guarantee you a higher spot on the SERP, with SEO, there are no guarantees. It will contribute toward your overall optimization effort. For example, let search engines index this site is obviously a huge part of the ranking equation, but you'd be surprised by how many people don't realize they've de-indexed their site. This is an ongoing audit process, so you should periodically return to the SEO Assistant to check for new issues. Finally, we'll take a look at the on-page SEO Assistant. The third part of our on-page SEO tools comes from the page-level version of the SEO Assistant. On all vertical pages, you'll be able to open up the SEO panel. Let's look at it on a blog page. Here, again, the SEO settings and panel are found over in the left-hand menu. The first tab you'll see here will be the SEO Assistant. To make the most of the tool's on-page SEO audit, we'll need to pick a focus keyword. You'll see the Semrush integration here as well. As we saw earlier, using this integration will give you a handful of keyword metrics to help you pick the right keyword for the specific page you're working on optimizing. Once you choose one, the tool will automatically update your list of SEO tasks, like optimizing the page's title tag, meta description, H1 header, H2 and H3 headers, body text, alt text, and its URL. It'll also indicate your rich result and indexation statuses if the site is connected to Google Search Console through Wix Studio. The SEO Assistant gives a pretty comprehensive list of on-page SEO tasks and automatically sorts them by priority. Then, an aggregate number of open tasks according to priority will be listed at the top of the panel. Some of these tasks, like optimizing the title tag, can be done right in the SEO Assistant itself, while others need to be implemented within the page's copy. For example, here you can see that we chose the focus keyword, Content Creator Tips, and that we optimized the title tag by including the keyword within it. We did all of this without ever leaving the SEO Assistant tool. As you complete these tasks, you'll notice that the number at the top of the tool adjusts accordingly, and that the background turns from red to yellow to green, indicating how optimized the page is. There's no prize for completing all the tasks, and in some cases, you actually shouldn't do all of them. For example, on an existing page that's already been indexed by Google, you may want to skip over adding the keyword to the URL if it's not there already. Google actually says that keywords are a very lightweight ranking factor here, and in most cases, changing the URL without implementing a redirect could have far more significant negative SEO consequences than not changing it at all. So that's a quick look at on-page SEO within Wix Studio. Now you have the tools to customize and effectively manage a site's on-page SEO at the page or page type level. Let's take it from the top. What can you do on Wix Studio to help structure your site in an optimal way for both users and bots? Like anything in SEO, it depends. In this case, it depends on what type of page you're working with. For static pages, you can customize a hierarchy by creating a parent page, child page relationship. So for example, say you have a set of static resources and want to group them all together, not just within a menu, but within a folder labeled resources, you could, and probably should, do so. Dynamic pages should be well organized too. In this lesson, we'll recap the importance of page hierarchy to SEO, and you'll learn how to apply that understanding to your Wix Studio sites. Well-organized site hierarchy is beneficial for both usability and to help Google get the gist of your client's site and the content on it. Search engine bots come to a page in order to read it so that the search engine can decide if it's worth storing in their index. A well-ordered and logical site structure can help Google better understand how pages on your client's site are interconnected, which can play a role in crawlability, including how often Google crawls a section on the site. A logical URL structure, where relevant pages sit under the most relevant folders, with user-friendly URL slugs, and where the pages contain internal linking, helps Google better understand page relationships. Pages should be topically tied together, but live independently of each other. Creating a parent-child page relationship allows the pages to better help each other from an SEO point of view. If your client site doesn't have a parent-child structure, it's a simple fix, so let's get to it. Let's walk through how to do this. In the Studio Editor, from the Page dropdown, click Manage Pages. From there, either with a new page you created or an existing page that you want to reorganize, drag the page under the parent page. This will help keep your menu organized correctly, but it won't actually change the structure of your client's site. For that, open up the page settings by clicking on the three dots next to the page you're working on. Then click on SEO Basics from the menu here. In the SEO panel, you'll see an option for Parent Page, Site Hierarchy. Now just choose the parent page you want your child page to live under. In this case, I move my test page from a flat hierarchy to live under the resource folder I set up. Whereas previously, my URL will look something like this, now it looks something like this. Of course, you can change the name of the parent page's URL, which will change the folder the child pages sit under. For that, go to the page manager and select the parent pages. Open the SEO settings and change the field that says URL slug to whatever you want. When you do, Wix Studio automatically implements a 3-to-1 redirect so you don't need to take any further action. If your client implemented the CMS, you can custom set the folder names for various data collections by accessing the page manager again in the editor itself. As with static pages, simply open the SEO settings and change the URL slug structure by editing the folder name itself. Here you can see I changed my collections folder name from projects to new projects. There you go, a proper hierarchy for your client's static and dynamic pages. We'll talk more about customizing the URL slug in just a bit. With static and dynamic pages covered, let's move on to other page types. When you add a vertical, like a blog, a store, bookings, or events to your client's site, a new folder will be added to the site. For example, if your client runs events and you added the Wix Studio Events app to the site, the event pages would live under a folder called Events Details, and the parent page URL will look something like this. The same for when your client sells online and they add a Wix Studio Stores app to the site. Wix Studio places all product pages within a folder titled Product Page, so that a specific product page URL looks something like this. In this way, hierarchy is established for these types of vertical pages. Now, you can customize the folder names for both product and blog pages. For example, if you use the Wix Studio blog to run a podcast and you don't want to use a default post as a folder name, you can change it to something like episodes or even podcast episodes if you want to. The same goes for your store. Having all of the assets of one kind living under a single folder name helps Google to better understand what section of your site deals with what. But bear in mind, this is just a tiny ranking factor according to Google. Start in the dashboard and head over to SEO. From there, scroll down to the Tools and Settings section and hit SEO Settings. This is the area on Wix Studio where you can edit SEO settings at the folder level as opposed to only specific pages. Here you'll see the various page categories on the site. Remember, currently the subfolder can be customized for product and blog pages. Let's take a blog page and click on that category. When we do, we get the option to customize various aspects of the site's blog SEO settings, including the page URL. So let's click to edit that option. We'll cover these other customization options in later sections of this module. Clicking to edit the URL for the folder will bring up the current URL, which in this example is the standard post as the folder and followed by the slug for the specific blog pages. Now that you're here, change the folder to read whatever you like it to read. In our podcast example, I changed post to podcast, simple as that. But you're a savvy SEO, and you realize that on an existing site, that's not as simple as that, because all of the URLs within the folder have now changed. What was once mysite.com/post/podcast-episode-1 is now mysite.com/podcast/podcast-episode-1. If other websites have been linking to the client's podcast or even other pages on the client's own site are linking to each other, normally those links will be broken. But on Wix Studio, they're not because it automatically implements a 301 redirect for you. And that's hierarchy. In our next lesson together, I'll walk you through optimizing your URL slugs. I'll see you there. The SEO panel is where the on-page SEO magic truly happens at the page level. This is where you'll create title tags and set up your URLs. For example, at the page level, you can optimize your client's URL slugs right from here. Pages on any Wix Studio site, whether they be static, dynamic, or vertical, all have their own SEO panel. You already met the SEO panel when we set up our static page hierarchy. So now let's dive into your URLs. If you're looking to update the slug for a static page, that happens in the editor. If we're talking about a Wix Studio vertical page, like a blog or product page, that happens in the workspace. Let's start with the editor. Again, you'll need to access the page manager. Alternatively, you can click on the Pages icon in the left side menu to access the pages. Find the page you want to work on, click on the three dots icon, and click on SEO, and just like that, you're in the SEO panel. Once the panel is open, one of the very first things you'll see is the field to update the URL slug. While URL slugs don't have a huge impact on your SEO directly, you should still customize them to help users understand the logic of your client's site. So let's change this one to who-is-Mordy-Oberstein. Notice, if you change the URL on a static page, Wix Studio will automatically implement a 301 redirect for you. And the crowd goes wild. Shh. Also, we'll catch any invalid formatting in the URL as well, because everyone makes mistakes, and we all know how easy it is to accidentally end a URL in a dash. Now let's see how it's done for vertical pages. In this instance, select the page vertical you want to work with from the workspace. In this case, let's work with product pages. Once selected, I'll see a list of all my products. And if I was working with blog pages, I would see a list of all my published blog posts. Your job is now to find the SEO settings. For product pages, it's in the lower right corner of the specific product page. Here's where it is on the blog pages. Because every vertical page's functionality is different, where you access the SEO panel will also be different. Back to product pages. Once you engage with them, the SEO panel will appear on the right side of the page, and just like with static pages, simply change the URL to whatever you want. Product page URLs get automatically redirected when you change the URL too. The same is true for booking pages, online program pages, and event pages. For pages where Wix Studio doesn't auto-redirect, you'll see a prompt to move to Wix Studio's URL Redirect Manager, where you can implement the 301 redirect yourself. If you aren't sure how to implement a 301 redirect yourself, don't worry. We'll cover it in more detail later in this course. Now, dynamic pages are a little different, so let's run through that quickly as well. And here it also really all depends. If you set up a collection using one of the templates that Wix Studio offers, the URLs are already present. All you need to do is edit the URL already placed within the field inside the CMS's content table. However, let's say you're starting from scratch. In that case, to customize the slug, head into the workspace and access or create your new collection, and then click Add Field. Choose text, not URL, for the field type. If you want, you can rename it URL in the field name as I did here. Now I'll add a few item titles. Now head to the editor and access the page manager. Find the dynamic page collection you want to work on, hit the three dots, and under SEO, you'll see your URL slug and the option to add a variable to the slug. Since we named our field URL, let's select that from the dropdown, and all pages within the collection will now dynamically use the slugs you set up. Next up, I'll show you how to set up your title tags and meta descriptions in Wix Studio. URL customization is one small part of the SEO equation. Let's work on title tags and meta descriptions. Again, for static pages, we're going to work in the editor. Access the page manager and choose a page. Then click on the three dots icon to bring up the SEO basics option and click on that. Back here in the SEO panel, you'll see the fields to customize a title tag and meta description. You may notice the Advanced SEO tab. We'll get to that more in the Tech SEO section of this course. Also, you can custom set your client site's social settings in the Social Share tab. These help you consistently display the title and description you want on social media so people know where to click on your client's social posts. Moving on to vertical pages, blog, events, products, etc. As we mentioned earlier, you can get to the SEO panel through your workspace. Let's work with event pages this time, since the layout and the entry point to the SEO panel are different from what we saw earlier. Once the panel is open, optimize and customize the title tag and meta description to your liking. Last up, dynamic pages. Head back to the CMS, and just like we did with the URL, add two new text fields, one for the title tag and one for the meta description. When you're done, your table should have a field for both. Now head to your dashboard, go to SEO settings and choose your dynamic pages. Under Basics and Social Share, add your title tag field as a title tag variable. This pulls in the text from the field you created in the CMS. And do the same for your meta description. And that's it. Keep watching, and I'll meet you in our next lesson together to cover optimizing your client's on-page content structure. Page structure, as in the structure of your content on the page, is a big part of on-page SEO. To address that, let's quickly run through the rich editing that Wix Studio offers, starting with some of the foundational page structure possibilities. Again, there are two ecosystems we have to discuss: the pages managed in the editor and those managed in your workspace. To add a proper header structure in the editor, open the Add panel, click Text, and you'll see the various header options listed, H1 through H6. Of course, you can always adjust the styling of these headers. From an SEO perspective, what matters is their status in the HTML, not how they look. For example, if you want to use an H6 design but assign it a different tag in the HTML, you can go to this dropdown in the inspector to choose the correct heading tag without affecting your design. But good page structure can often go beyond headers. If you're looking to optimize the body text itself from a structural point of view, select the text you want and hit the Edit Text button. You should now see a rich editor panel where you can do things such as format the text by bolding it, adding it to a bullet list, etc. Setting up structure on vertical pages like blog and product pages differs from page to page. However, most of the basic options are relatively consistent throughout. Here, for example, we can use the Add button to the blog's left-hand menu to add a table. And similarly, if you want to format body text in a blog post, you can select the text and make use of the rich editor at the top of the blog editor. Lastly, to access the rich editor in the CMS, you can add a rich text field, which will bring up the rich editor options. This is all essentially on-page SEO at the page level. But what if you want to be a bit more efficient? In the next lesson, we'll look at how to work at scale using Wix Studio to streamline on-page SEO tasks. Let's talk about some Wix Studio tools that can help you edit your title tags and meta descriptions, implement robust meta tags at scale, and help you remove specific pages from folder-level patterns if need be. To start working at scale with your on-page SEO, let's head back to SEO settings in the SEO dashboard. And again, choose a page type. Let's go with products. Instead of focusing on the URL, let's click on Basics and Social Share this time. Here you can set a default pattern by either choosing from a listed variable or by adding custom text into the fields for all of the title tags and for all of the meta descriptions within the folder. In other words, for that page type. In this case, I set the title tags for all the site's products to be the name of the product followed by the name of the site, and all the product meta descriptions to pull in the page's product description. That means I don't have to create custom title tags or meta descriptions for the site's products. As I create a product name and description for my clients, the platform pulls them in dynamically to service the page's title tag and meta descriptions respectively. Now, if I want to add the currency to every product title tag, I don't need to run through hundreds or thousands of product pages. I just add the variable to the title tag field, and the currency is now dynamically added to all the title tags. In this section, I can also set the title tags and meta descriptions for shares on social media, along with setting an image that will show automatically with any shared content. Now let's say the pattern I set for the folder or page type makes sense for 90% of the pages, but there are some that the pattern just doesn't make sense for. Not a problem. Click on Edit by Product tab since we're dealing with product pages. Here you'll see all of the individual pages within the folder that live in one master table. This indicates things like the page's URL, title tag, meta description, and the indexation status if the site is connected to Google Search Console. To remove a specific page from the folder level pattern, hover over the page you want to customize, and then hit the edit button that shows up. You can also just click on the row. That'll bring up the SEO panel where you can custom set the metadata for that specific page. Once you click Save, you'll see the table indicates that the pattern has been edited in a clear and visible way. This way, you know which pages you remove from the pattern. Take note. Should you go into the specific page itself and create a custom title tag, meta description, or anything else within the SEO panel shown there, that too will remove the page from the pattern. Whatever you do at the page level overrides any folder or page type level settings. In fact, where the page type doesn't have the edit by page table functionality, this would be how you remove a page from a wider metadata pattern you set within the SEO settings tool. Keep watching, and I'll help you learn how to improve your SEO with built-in Wix Studio tools. There are several ways that Wix Studio uniquely helps you develop an SEO content strategy. Whether it be through directly integrating with the most well-known names in SEO software, or through Wix Studio's ability to not only connect to Google's Search Console data, but to turn that connection into actionable data insights. Knowing how to use Wix Studio's tools can help set your and your client's SEO content strategy on the right path. Over the next few lessons, you'll learn how to include these integrations into your workflow, starting with Google Search Console. Let's look at how Wix Studio leverages Google's own data offering, Search Console, from a content strategy point of view. First thing, make sure you've connected the site to Google Search Console. Wix Studio offers a one-click connection to Search Console as part of the SEO Setup Checklist that can be accessed in the SEO section of your workspace. Once you've connected, Wix Studio submits your sitemap to Google for faster indexing. In order to form the connection in this way, which results in Google instantly indexing the site's homepage, you need to complete the first step of the SEO Setup Checklist. Alternatively, you could add the meta tag Google provides in Search Console to the site by using the site verification tools as part of the SEO tools and settings section within the main Wix SEO dashboard. Once you've made the connection, there are a few ways to leverage them for your client's SEO content strategy. One of the first things you'll see is the site's top-level GSC performance data, up to 90 days worth, so that you can have a general understanding of how the site is performing. More notably, Wix Studio automatically pulls in the data from GSC and breaks it down into tangible insights, meaning you can use the SEO dashboard to access GSC data that can directly impact your SEO content strategy. It'll automatically tell you things like which page has the biggest increase or decrease in clicks and impressions, and which search queries have resulted in the biggest increases or decreases in clicks and impressions. I've got a site here for a podcast. Looking at the past 90 days, we can see an overall decrease in impressions towards the end of the reporting period. The insights that follow tell me that the site has seen a decrease in over 1,000 impressions for both the keywords Best SEO Podcast and Podcast SEO. The fact that there is a thematic thread between the two keywords tells me that for queries that reflect an intent to find an SEO podcast, this website has seen its performance decline. Obviously, for this site, these sorts of keywords are core. With this data, I might start a deeper investigation into what sort of content is ranking on the SERPs for these keywords, how the content of this particular site stacks up, and how I can elevate it. If I wanted to go deeper into the performance of this site, I can utilize the reports found in Wix Studio's Google Search Console Analytics. If you're already on a widget like this one, you can just click here to see the full report. To access all of your reports, head to the Analytics and Reports section and click Reports. Under SEO, you'll see these Google Search Console Analytics reports. Let's quickly look at the data in each. The Google Search Performance Over Time report gives you access to the top-level GSC data we mentioned earlier, and also lets you extend the data period beyond 90 days, set up comparisons to previous reporting periods, or filter by device. To add this data, you can also get a top-level trends chart on the site's average rank in GSC via the average position in Google Over Time chart. To go a bit deeper and to begin to leverage the GSC data for your client's SEO content strategy itself, the top search queries on Google report will give you a visual representation of the top queries driving clicks and impressions to the site. You can accent this with either CTR data or the average position for each query. Further, you can specify the query you want to see the data on, segment by country, and more. Here we can see our keyword from earlier, podcast SEO, has gained 461 impressions over 30 days, but has an average position of just 83.6. This is where the report's table view comes in handy. Switching to table view gives you the full spectrum of data for all search queries listed within the site's GSC account. You can see data on query impressions, clicks, CTR, average position by default, and even add columns for device type and region. In this case, we can see that the term podcast SEO has seen a period over period decrease of 173 impressions, and that the average rank fell by over 37 positions, which is significant. However, no clicks were lost. In fact, the query garners no clicks at all. So while the performance has dropped, it has had a net impact of 0 on the site's traffic from Google's organic results. That's not to say you wouldn't want to optimize for this keyword. You may well want to. However, if our goal is to find where the site lost organic traffic from, this isn't the keyword. However, the report can easily spot such keywords. If I filter the table to show clicks in descending order, I can instantly spot the keywords sending more clicks and that the site has lost clicks compared to the previous reporting period. Now I can start the decision process as to the importance of the clicks relative to the site's business goals and what to begin working on first in order to restore traffic to the site. Similarly, you can run the same analysis at the page level as opposed to the query level. As with this top search queries on Google report, the top pages in Google search results shows you a visual representation of the top pages earning clicks and impressions to the site. Again, you can accent this with either CTR data or the average position for each query. Switching again to table view, I can easily see which pages have gained or lost clicks. This data helps me understand what pages I want to focus on improving and which pages serve as the core of my organic traffic strategy. Here, for example, even with an increase in clicks, some pages have seen a decrease in CTR. Perhaps these pages need to have their title tag better optimized for converting impressions into actual clicks. Next up, we'll talk about another game-changing integration you have access to on Wix Studio, Semrush. Beyond the GSC data helping you identify optimization opportunities and issues within Wix Studio, the platform is integrated with multiple third-party tool providers to help you with the exploratory research stages of an SEO content strategy. In this lesson, we'll take a look at Semrush. Wix Studio's integration with Semrush gives you in-platform keyword research insights. There are a few access points for you to use the data. The first is in the SEO settings checklist. When choosing a focus keyword for the homepage, you'll see the option to find a keyword using Semrush. The second access point is in the Wix Studio SEO Assistant. When working with supporting page types, the SEO panel will bring this up. Here you have the option to select a page-level keyword and to engage with the Semrush integration. You can use the integration to perform keyword research for any page on or off the site. These are simply the access points. The first thing to do here is to select the desired region, since keyword metrics will vary from market to market. Once you select a market, type the desired keyword into the search field. The tool will return an analysis on the keyword that includes related search terms, monthly search volumes, search volume trends over time, keyword difficulty, and search intent. The best practice is to use the tool in alignment with the SERP itself. For example, in our case, a search for ceiling fans yields super authorities such as Amazon and Wayfair. You'll want to refine your keyword searches to better align with the unique product offering the site presents to find a more competitive landscape to operate in. One that simultaneously aligns with the business, not raw search volume numbers. Your ultimate goal as an SEO is to help the site thrive, not to earn meaningless traffic. In our case here, if the site focused on designer ceiling fans, even if it happened to sell ones that were your standard ceiling fan, a focus keyword of designer ceiling fans would be more appropriate than just ceiling fans. And as you can see, the SERP opens up in such a case with keywords that present both respectable search volume metrics and reachable keyword difficulty scores. One thing to be aware of is search volume trends. For example, say the business sold outdoor ceiling fans. The keyword represents 14,800 monthly searches, which is fabulous. Moreover, the difficulty to rank is not hard. However, look at the trends. There is a clear lull in the search volume over the course of the year, most likely because no one is searching for an outdoor ceiling fan in frigid New York in February. If, however, the business in question was in Phoenix, which is hot all year, I would ignore the trends here as seasonality doesn't come into play the same way. So while keyword research metrics are great, even with a powerful tool like Semrush, you'll still have to apply some critical thinking. Lastly, if you're using the Semrush integration as part of the process for selecting a focus keyword for the site within the SEO Setup Checklist or the page level using the SEO Assistant, you can select the desired keyword, have it added as the focus keyword, and the Wix Studio tools will adjust its SEO recommendations accordingly. So that's Semrush. Keep watching and I'll meet you in our next lesson where we'll cover SEO ranking in more detail. Let's take a look at how you can use the SEO ranking integration out of Wix Studio. To focus on the competitor analysis aspect of an SEO content strategy, Wix Studio offers a standalone SEO ranking app. You can find it in the Wix app market under Marketing and then under SEO, or you can search for it by name by typing SEO ranking in the search field. To run a competitor analysis, the first step is to decide what your goal is. Do you want to discover who your SERP competitors are? Or do you already know who they are, but want to dive deeper into them? If it's the former, enter your or your client's domain into the search field. If you already know the competitors and want to get more insights on them, go ahead and enter a competitor domain into the field. You can analyze an entire domain or specific subdomains or even specific URLs. Once you run a query, you'll get an overview that gives you a TLDR on the site's organic performance, including total traffic from organic search and the number of ranking keywords. Always remember, these are estimates. Third-party competitor analysis tools exist because you don't have access to the competition's Google Analytics or GSC. One of the things you'll probably want to do is to qualify the raw numbers in the overview section. How strong is this competitor? Are they continually improving, or are they seeing a fall off in their performance over time? Knowing this will help you contextualize how formidable the competitor actually is. In this case, the number of ranking keywords, while down a bit in 2023, has increased dramatically since 2021. You can break down which market the competitor is strong in. It could very well be that most of their prowess is within markets you or your client don't even service. Since we're talking about organic traffic, you want to understand what keywords the competitor is ranking for. You can go beyond the initial metrics the SEO ranking app offers and see what URL the competitor is ranking with for certain keywords and what SERP features are present on the page. Perhaps you can't outrank them, but maybe you could create a video that would appear in the SERP's video box as a way to compete. Others of the top-ranking keywords you'll encounter are most likely branded keywords. You should definitely make use of the advanced filters. In this case, you can simply exclude any keywords that contain the competitor's brand in them. You can also get insight into the overlap in ranking keywords that you or your clients and your competitors have. To best utilize this feature, you'll want to run the initial query for the domain you're working on so that it serves as the baseline. Once you dive deeper into this report section, you can see your or your client's rankings versus your competitors, see what keywords you have in common, and which the competitor ranks for that you don't. The SEO ranking app offers a lot of insights as you start to engage with the various report sections. There's also data within the SEO ranking app on the paid SERP with insights into Google search ad performance. Additionally, there's a keyword research section that provides you with things like keyword difficulty analysis, search volume and search volume trends, and CPC data. You can also explore related keywords and questions, and use filters to help you dive in a bit deeper. To sum it all up, there's a wide array of unique data insights found directly within the Wix Studio ecosystem that can help provide your or your client's SEO content strategy, initial direction, and refinement as you move ahead over time. Let's dig into local SEO. It's a whole different ballgame. Wix Studio supports the unique needs of local SEOs focused on local businesses in a variety of ways. From a deep integration with Google Business Profile itself, along with how we automate structured data, to the apps available to you in the Wix Studio app market, there's a lot to know when it comes to local SEO on your client's Wix Studio website. To start, let's talk about the other things local SEOs have to consider beyond the website, namely your client's Google Business Profile, or GBP. Wix Studio and Google have a direct partnership that lets you create and manage a Google Business Profile listing. To access the integration, head over to Marketing, Marketing Home, and then Google Business Profile. Choose between importing an existing profile or creating a new one. First, I'll show you how to create a new profile. You'll be prompted to enter the business name to create the GBP listing or to find an unclaimed listing if it already exists. You'll then see whether an unclaimed listing was found or whether you need to create one for your client from scratch. You'll be taken to a screen where you can set the info that Google will show in the GBP. This includes establishing the business as having a physical location or being a service area business or a hybrid. Adding photos for the GBP, setting hours of operation, selecting attributes, and choosing the main category for the business. You can only select the primary category here. To add other categories, you'll need to manage the selection on Google itself. Once you're done, you can submit the listing to be verified by Google. But what if you already have authorization to manage your client's GBP? Glad you asked. In the initial screen, there's an option to import a listing you manage. Once you're all set with creating or importing the listing, it'll appear in your workspace. You'll see a button that lets you manage your client's reviews. Here you can see and sort the reviews and even reply back to them directly from your workspace. Within their GBP, your client may be eligible to add reservations to be made directly from Google Search via the Reserve with Google program, allowing customers to book your client's services right within the SERP. To access the integration, head over to Catalog, Booking Channels, and then Booking Integrations, then click Connect under Google. Assuming the business meets Google's requirements for the program, the integration works using the business info you already added in the last step. Here, you'll be prompted to connect your client's Google business profile. After navigating the opt-in process, and once you've made the connection between the site and Google, you'll be able to edit any settings that still need to be updated. Once done, click Add Your Business to Google. Google requires the services to be bookable, which means your client's users must be able to book a service on their Wix Studio website. This means your clients will not only need a premium site with booking pages added, but will also need services that aren't just view only or that are otherwise hidden. If not, the submission will be rejected by Google. You can also add a Google map to your client's page or pages. It can help Google confirm that this is where your client is actually located. To do this, head into the Studio editor, click to Add a Page, and head down to Contact and Forms. You'll see a sub-menu for Google Maps. Go ahead and select the map design you like best. Once you add it to the page, you can fill the address in so the pin displays on the map. Just click on the map to bring up the widgets menu, and then click on Manage Locations. If you have multiple locations you want to display, just click on the Multiple option. Alternatively, you can create a dataset within the CMS to list all of your locations and then connect the dataset to the Google Maps widget. To do that, click on the widget to bring up the menu again and click on the icon to the far right, which brings up the fields to connect the widget to a dataset you created. To custom set map controls, click on the settings icon where you can control the default zoom, decide whether to display zoom control, and offer street view control. Lastly, you can change the design of the map at any time by clicking the design icon from the widgets menu. To swap designs, just click on any of the options that automatically display. And that sums up your client's GBP from a local SEO perspective.
You're set up to tackle technical SEO in Wix Studio in a handful of ways, from taking care of basic tasks to using advanced tools. So let's take a look at some of them together, starting with a quick overview. Wix Studio works using a cloud infrastructure, which lets you use edge cloud technologies for server-side rendering and server-side caching of the JavaScript, HTML, and images for each site. That includes SEO meta tags, which are rendered first. Every Wix Studio app, like stores, blogs, and CMS, each has a unique built-in technical optimization to help improve your site's SEO. For example, Wix Studio Blog includes on-page optimization, image optimizations, and structured data. If you wanted to ignore the automated structured data on the page, you could write your own, or if you wanted to add another field to the existing markup, you could do that too. The interplay between built-in technical SEO tools and the ability to customize is one of the key benefits you can offer clients on their Wix Studio sites. There are countless tools and apps you can use here, some of which come with every site automatically, and others you can add when you need them. We won't cover them all, but if you need any help, head to the Wix SEO Hub to learn more. You can find relevant tech SEO tools in one of three places depending on what you're looking for. First, in the Studio editor, you'll create standard static pages and, with the CMS installed, dynamic pages. This is where you can handle your page structure, UX, and design. For these pages, you'll find SEO tools in the page's side panel. You'll find other tools to change the heading tags in the inspector panel and theme settings in the site styles panel. Next, in your workspace, you can access the backend of the site. Here, you can access SEO tools like the robots.txt editor, meta tags, redirects manager, and Google Search Console data. And finally, if you're a developer, you can turn on dev mode to access other tools like third-party APIs via NPNs and the API Secrets Manager. So that's a quick overview of the SEO tools you've already got access to just by having a Wix Studio account. Stay tuned for some more in-depth lessons on how you can put them to use for your clients. See you soon. In this lesson, we'll cover two tools you can use to get insights about your client's site using both field and lab data. First, we'll take a look at Google PageSpeed Insights, and then Wix Studio's very own site speed dashboard. Start by heading to Google PageSpeed Insights at pagespeed.web.dev, and then add the URL here to see the results. By default, Google PageSpeed analyzes sites per URL on the page level, not per site, but you can change that here with the Origin tab, and you can check for both mobile and desktop. Most internet traffic happens on mobile, so it's set to mobile by default. Plus, it's more difficult to get a good performance score on a mobile device, so it's a good indicator of the rest of your client's site. Let's take a look at this first section. Discover what real users are experiencing. This is showing you the field data of your client's web page. You'll only see this if your client's site is getting enough traffic. If your client's site doesn't have enough traffic, you'll either see no data, or if this specific page lacks views, but the site as a whole has enough data, your view will be set to Origin by default. This data comes from the Crux report, which you'll remember from a latest lesson on field versus lab data, and it's based on data from the last 28 days. You can see here that the site I'm testing passes all 3 core web vitals. Below the main metrics, you'll find these extra metrics that are worth taking a look at, but they're not considered core web vitals. Bear in mind that this is an aggregated view of your client's website over the last 28 days, and it can't be broken down into individual days. Your field scores could be wildly different for every user, and they'll likely be different for each user session. This could come down to anything, including the fact that some elements of your client's page are already cached on the user's browser, or it could be due to different ads they received in each session. The user's internet connection and device can also have a huge impact. 2 sessions from 2 different geolocations could produce 2 completely different measurements on core web vitals. Next, this is lab data. In the previous few lessons, Aleda mentioned that you can check lab scores with Google Lighthouse. That's the output you're seeing here. Lighthouse is trying to simulate how a real visitor would experience this web page. Down here, you can see that it's simulating this process by emulating a low-performance mobile phone using a slow 4G internet connection. This kind of testing doesn't necessarily emulate the real experience of your average user. These scores would be much higher if most users were using the latest iPhone on a 5G internet connection. Now, we get an overall score out of 100, and down here, we get 2 core web vital metrics, cumulative layout shift and largest contentful paint. We also get these 2 extra metrics, speed index and total blocking time. Speed index shows how quickly the contents of a page are visibly populated, and total blocking time measures the amount of time that a page is blocked from responding to user inputs, like mouse clicks, screen taps, or keyboard presses. It's difficult for a machine to accurately simulate real user experience of interactivity, so total blocking time is a lab data alternative for first input delay. Keep in mind that the results of lab testing and Lighthouse are volatile. You can get wildly different results with every test, even if you don't change anything. So when using lab data, make sure to run the test a few times to get an average. Further down the page, you'll find some insights that Google thinks could help you improve your client's site performance. You can get to the Wix Studio Site Speed dashboard by going to Website and SEO, and then Site Speed. This first section, Real Visitor Experience, shows the field data for your client's site. Unlike Google PageSpeed Insights, you can see the site's metrics at a daily interval for the last 30 days. You can do this with any Core Web Vitals by clicking each of these metrics tabs. On the right, you'll see the metric for each of the site's pages. Now bear in mind, this is collected by Wix Studio, not Google, which means you can see the data from multiple browsers. Google only collects data from the Chrome browser. Also, even if you don't have enough field data for Google PageSpeed Insights, you might have enough for the Site Speed dashboard. Further down the page, you'll see some more useful information. First, you can see the Core Web Vitals distributions among users, so how many got good, medium, or poor scores. You will also see tips based on your Core Web Vitals scores. And below that, you'll see this Google PageSpeed simulation. It uses Lighthouse to get lab data for your site, similar to how Google does. Unlike PageSpeed Insights, we keep your lab data history in a list, so you can track your progress over time. Google PageSpeed Insights and the Wix Site Performance Dashboard complement each other, so you should use both to look out for opportunities and issues with your client's site performance. In our next lesson, we'll look at designing with site performance in mind. See you there.
There are a few best practices to keep in mind while designing your client's sites on Wix Studio to enhance their performance and boost their SEO. These include being mindful of your LCP, using the right media format, keeping the DOM ordered, using code correctly, keeping it light, and being aware of the trade-offs. Let's take our tennis site, which currently has this low LCP score, CLS score, and IMP score. Let's implement some of those best practices and check our progress along the way. The LCP, or largest contentful paint, measures the time it takes for the largest element to load. There are a few ways to optimize this. First, you can make the largest element a text-based element. Text loads faster than images or videos, and if the largest element on your client's page is a text element, it's likely to load faster than any video or images on the page. Remember, LCP measures the content above the fold, so you're just focusing on that initial content. Then utilize font display swap. If the LCP uses a custom font, you can optimize this large text element by using the font display swap feature. Basically, custom fonts can take longer to load than system fonts. Font display swap, which you can switch on here under site styles, tells the browser not to wait for the custom font to load, but to render it as soon as possible, using a system font that's already saved on the user's device. Once the custom font is ready, it swaps the text back to the custom font. Next, don't animate the LCP. Animations are among the last thing to play when your client's page is being loaded, so animating the LCP element will likely cause it to appear very late. And lastly, optimize other elements too. While your LCP element is the most important to optimize, the loading times for all elements on a page can significantly impact a site's user experience. Consider applying the best practices we just outlined to other elements to improve the loading time for all of your client site's elements. Now that I've changed these issues, you'll see that I've got this new higher LCP score. Wix Studio automatically converts your uploaded media to the WebP format to optimize it for the web. But uploading lighter media files will still result in lighter media files on your client site. So whether you're uploading images, videos, or custom fonts, keep the following best practices in mind. First, use a JPEG over a PNG. JPEGs are much lighter than PNGs, so unless you specifically need an image to have a transparent background, you should focus on uploading JPEGs. Even if your image does need to appear transparent, for example, you could simply make the JPEG's background the same color as the site's background to get the same effect with better performance. Second, use videos over GIFs. Videos are lighter than GIFs, so the same goes here. And third, use WAF2 for custom fonts. The WAF2 format is far more efficient than others, like TIFF, so be sure to use that here too. Now that I fixed these issues, you'll see that I've got an even higher LCP. On every site, there are two orders: visual order, which is how elements appear on the screen, and DOM order, or the order in which elements appear in the HTML code. Machines like assistive technologies and browsers will read and render your client's site according to its DOM order, not its visual order. No matter how beautiful your client's site looks, misaligned DOM order could result in elements pushing each other around the page as they load asynchronously. This creates a layout shift and a higher cumulative layout shift score, which we want to avoid. In most cases, Wix Studio will automatically order your DOM in line with the visual order of elements on the page. However, if you manually move elements around in the Layers panel, you may need to reorganize it. Just head to the site's Pages menu, click the three dots next to the page you want to reorganize, and hit Reorganize DOM Order. It's always a good idea to do this just before you publish, But bear in mind that this will undo any changes you've made in the layers panel. Now that I fixed this issue, you'll see that I've got this new higher CLS score. We have three main goals when it comes to code. Number one, aim for cacheable code. When someone browses a Wix Studio site, their browser creates a cached version so that the next visitor can view the saved version. This speeds up loading time of that page or site. There is an option in the Studio editor to manually enable caching for such pages, but we generally recommend interfering with caching as little as possible. Number two, code lightly when possible. Only download the fields you need and store downloaded data instead of refreshing it. The details of making this happen are outside the scope of this lesson, but if you need more details on how to do this, check out the article linked in the video's description. And number three, use defer or async tags for custom code. If you're using custom code for your client's site, or if you want or need a script to be in the header of the HTML, make sure to include defer or async. Otherwise, the rest of the page might wait for your custom code to load before loading itself. Finally, you need to ensure that you keep your client's pages as light as possible to keep load time short. You can do that by keeping above the fold content light. The lighter a page is, the faster it will be rendered by a browser. Simple as that. Focus on keeping the above the fold content light, as this will have the most impact on your client's Core Web Vitals scores. And remember to split content between pages. Don't overload one page with all your client's content. Split it over several pages instead. For example, if the homepage has a bookings widget and a pro gallery and a store gallery, you're not likely to achieve fast load times. So in this site's case, you'd remove the Wix bookings element from the homepage and add a CTA instead that directly links them to another page. And lastly, don't use more than 3 or 4 fonts. The more fonts, scripts, and elements you add to the page, the more a browser will need to download before the page will load. So keep it light. Now that I fixed all these issues, you'll see I've got this new higher score. There's a trade-off with all of these best practices. Site performance metrics don't mean absolutely everything. You could, of course, have a site that looks like this. It would definitely load extremely fast, but it wouldn't be great for your clients or their users. At the other extreme, you could ignore performance altogether and build a carnival for your clients. A site that's heavy with content and design is more than likely going to impact your site's performance. However, by understanding exactly what impacts that performance, you could use your own judgment to find the right balance for your client. With this lesson in mind, you'll be better placed to explain your performance decisions with your client, helping them to see the added value you bring to the relationship.
The DOM order of your client's site is essentially just the order of the content as it's written in HTML. It tells machines, like assistive technologies and Google's crawlbots, what order they should read your client's content in. If you were coding your client's website from scratch, you would have to manually reorder the code to update the correct DOM order. In Wix Studio, the DOM can be organized automatically. To make sure yours is set to on, go to the editor and click on the Wix Studio icon at the top left. Then go to Tools and Auto DOM Order. If you see a check mark next to it, it's on. If you prefer to turn it off and reorganize the DOM manually, click on the DOM order and turn it off. Now, we're going to take a look at how we can reorganize your DOM order, both automatically and manually. Here, I have a fully designed website. To a sighted user, everything appears to be in order. However, let's see what happens when I tab through this section to test the DOM order. You can see that my focus ring is jumping all over the place. This is because my DOM order doesn't match the visual order of how the section content should flow. If we were to test this with a screen reader, it also wouldn't be able to read the DOM correctly. which is bad for accessibility as well as SEO. So I need to edit my DOM order. You can manually drag each element to where it should go in the DOM, but there's a faster way. You can automatically rearrange the DOM order of elements in a section, container, or page. Go to the Layers panel, select the relevant section, and click Reorganize DOM Order. So let's do that. Now everything is in the right order. Tabbing is a quick way to check the order of interactive elements, but you have to understand how all your clients' content is arranged. As you can see from my Layers panel, elements like page sections, flexboxes, stacks, and repeaters are ordered from top to bottom, matching their item's visual order. But in freeform designs, layers are ordered from bottom to top. Where free elements overlap, whatever is arranged at the back appears last in layers, but it's first in the DOM in the HTML code. Once again, you can automatically reorganize the DOM using the Layers panel. Or if you prefer to do it manually, just drag and drop the elements or arrange them to get the order you want.
So that's a quick overview. If you want to dive deeper into what you can do with DOM order, like increasing a site's accessibility and performance, check out the resources in the description of this video. In the next lesson, we'll be talking about removing unwanted apps, animations, and pages from your client's site. See you there. In general, with SEO, lighter is better for performance and speed. So before you launch a site, you'll want to remove any unused apps, animations, or demo pages. Too many elements can slow down the page load, so removing the fluff can give your client's site a free performance boost. Plus, pages you think are unnecessary but still publish anyway can still get crawled by Google and skew its impression of your client's site or lead it down the wrong path altogether. So let's go over some ways to lighten up a Wix Studio site. Let's say there are a few pages or apps left on the site that your client doesn't really need. Maybe you started building with a template like this one that comes preloaded with the Wix Stores app. But let's say your client doesn't actually have a store. To delete it, just head to Pages, click on the three dots next to Store Pages, then click Delete Store. Easy enough. Now the app is removed from your client's site. But if you still have these static pages up, you'll need to remove those too. Now, some apps like Forms don't create entire pages, but they exist as components within existing pages. To delete those kinds of apps, first delete all their related components. So here I'll delete the form. Then head to your dashboard and then Manage Apps. Click the three dots and then Delete. And once you click Go to Editor, Wix Studio will delete the app from the backend. You already know that too many animations above the fold can negatively impact a site's performance score. But it's a good idea to remove any animations that aren't totally necessary throughout your client site. For example, this site has 4 animations in this section, including hover, scroll, click, and loop. This is far too many, and we can easily achieve a similar effect without using all 4 of these. Back in the editor, just click the animated element, head to the Interactions tab, click the 3 dots, and then click Remove. Taking some time to really consider which of these heavier elements are really necessary to a site's success can end up paying dividends in your performance later on. Get ready to dive into sitemaps in our next lesson. Your SEO settings are time-saving tools that let you apply the same SEO logic to multiple pages on a site all at once. Wix Studio automatically creates default SEO settings based on common SEO best practices for all the pages on your client's site according to their type, like product pages or main pages. But it's always a good idea to review these settings before launching a site. So let's take a look at them together. First, head to your SEO dashboard and click SEO Settings. Next, choose which page types you'd like to edit, since each type is a little different. Now you can choose to edit the default settings for each page.
or you can edit by page. Under Customize Defaults, you can choose from a few options. With Basics and Social Share, you can edit how the pages will appear on things like Google and social media. Then you'll need to add structured data for each page, since it doesn't come with a default setting. Go to the Edit by Page tab to see a full list of the site's pages. Just click the page and go to Advanced to access the structured data markup editor. You can add robots meta tags individually on each page through the advanced SEO settings in the Wix Studio editor, or under Edit by Page in your Wix SEO settings. Customize Defaults lets you bulk edit the robots meta tags for every page on the site. And under additional meta tags, you can add canonicals, OGs, and even add custom meta tags if you'd like to. It's really important to know what you're doing here and why you're doing it. So definitely keep watching this module to get all the context you need. To wrap up, make sure you've double-checked the configuration of the SEO defaults and the URL redirects manager for all the different page types before you launch. And for more detailed technical information on how to edit your client's settings, check out the resources linked in the description below. You can update and view your client's sitemaps right from your Wix Studio account, but it's always a good idea to double-check sitemaps before you launch. So let's take a look. In Google Search Console on the Sitemaps page, you'll see this sitemap index. Clicking this will expand the index to show all the individual sitemaps on your client's site. If any of these say they couldn't be fetched, you'll need to submit the sitemap again. Going back to the index, just type sitemap.xml here and click Submit. Now that's been submitted successfully. Bear in mind, these submissions might take a little while to file through, so if it doesn't complete immediately, don't worry. As soon as you submit successfully, Google will start learning more about your client's pages. It will also periodically look for changes in the sitemap and let you know if anything goes wrong in the future. Every Wix Studio blog also contains a full HTML RSS. They're always listed at yourdomain/blog-feed.xml. So it's worth submitting this file into Google Search Console too. Just like with the index, just pop the slug into the bar and hit Submit. Now you can submit your client's sitemap and RSS feed to Google Search Console. It's time you move on to managing your robots.txt file. But before you jump back into this module, I highly recommend you take a look at some of the Google developer documentation that I've linked in this video's description. See you later. Before you launch your client's site, there are a few things you'll want to double check. First, I'd recommend publishing your client's site with a free domain. That way you can double check the sitemap and robots.txt without worrying about any unwanted visitors finding the site before it's ready. You can also use the live test site to check for issues with tools like the SEO Pro extension and Broken Link Checker. Let me walk you through it. To see the sitemap of your client's live site, just add /sitemap.xml to the end of your main URL in the address bar and hit Enter. Now you'll see the sitemap index. If you copy and paste any of these URLs into the address bar, you'll see the sitemaps for each page referenced in the index. You might have noticed that this URL reads blank. So what is that? Is it actually a blank page? Let's copy and paste and check it out. And it's actually not blank, it's a gallery. So let's go back to that page in the site and update the URL to read gallery instead of blank. Great, that's fixed. Now I can go through and double check every single one of these URLs to make sure they describe the pages the way that they should. Take the blog, for example. We've got multiple categories, which is great, but here we've got two categories that are almost the same, racket sizing and racket size. Similar categories can compromise your crawl integrity, so before launching, I'll want to move all the articles from one category into the other and delete the redundant one. Once you've double-checked everything, you can connect the real domain. This free URL will update, but the rest of the paths will stay the same. But before you do, it's worth double-checking your robots.txt file. Similar to the sitemap, just type the site into the address bar, followed by /robots.txt and hit Enter. Now, Just double-check the file before publishing to make sure your instructions are correct. If you're not sure what you should be checking, we've got an entire lesson in this course on robots.txt. Give it a quick watch before you do this step. Before you launch, there are a couple more tools you should use to make sure everything is set up correctly: SEO Pro and Broken Link Checker. The SEO Pro Chrome extension can help you to complete a number of technical tasks more efficiently. I and many other SEO professionals use it all the time, and you can download it from the Chrome Web Store. Opening it on a live site, you can double-check the HTTP status of all your clients' pages, check for indexing or canonicalizations issues, check the core web vitals, analyze the heading hierarchies on any page, double-check the no-follows, spot missing alt texts, check the structured data of any page. The list goes on. It's a great way to complete your final checks before launch. Once you've finished with SEO Pro, there's one last tool to use: Broken Link Checker. You'll remember from the backlinks module that broken links can harm a website's search ranking. Broken Link Checker can help you to find all the broken or redirected links on your client site in a single click. Just run the extension on the site, one page at a time, and fix any broken links you find. Keep watching for a full walkthrough on that. A URL redirect points visitors and search engines from the URL they actually clicked on to a different URL. And as you learned in this module, there are multiple types of 300 redirects for different purposes. 301 redirects can even help you retain a page's ranking in search engine results, even after you change its URL. In this lesson, you'll learn how to implement a 301 redirect, which permanently replaces an old URL with a new one. You may want to implement a redirect when changing your client's primary domain, moving to a new domain entirely, deleting a web page, updating a website structure, or fixing keyword cannibalization. There are more uses beside these. You can check out the link in the description below to learn more. But instead of a redirect, you might opt for a canonical tag, telling search engines that two URLs point to the same or similar content. With a canonical tag, the other URLs will still work for users. But you're telling a search engine not to index all the variations, which could affect SEO. A 301 will carry over link authority to the new link, whereas a canonical will not. So let's get started. There are two ways to set up a 301 redirect on Wix Studio: automatically and manually. First, if you just want to change the page's URL, you can head to that page in the Studio editor and update the URL under SEO Basics. When you update the URL, Wix Studio will automatically create a 301 redirect for you. That's it, you're done. Later, you'll learn how to manage, edit, and delete those automatic redirects. But there's one exception to this automatic rule: blog pages. In order to redirect a blog page, you'll need to create a manual redirect. So here I've got one blog post that's being pointed at by two URLs. The original URL was tennis racket sizing, and the new URL is tennis racket size guide. I could add a canonical tag, but that first one already has quite a bit of traffic, so instead I'll set up a redirect. To manually create a 301 redirect, head to the URL Redirect Manager in your workspace. Here you can track all of your redirects. When you want to create a new redirect, click on the Add New Redirect button. From there, you can select the type of redirect you need, whether a single or group redirect. You'll need the old and new URLs for both pages. In this case, I need a single redirect from tennis racket sizing to tennis racket size guide. Once you're done, hit Save and Close. Now, when a visitor clicks on the first URL, they'll actually get sent to the second one. It's worth noting that Wix Studio offers a maximum of 5,000 redirects per website. But you don't want to go too heavy on redirects anyway. In fact, let's talk about how to manage, edit, and delete unnecessary redirects. You'll want to periodically keep an eye on your redirects. For instance, if you're trying to get your client's pages indexed, but it's just not happening, it's worth heading to the URL Redirect Manager to check if those pages have been redirected. Even if you didn't mean to set up a redirect, Wix Studio may have automatically created a redirect when you change the URL of a page. For example, in Site Inspection, you'll notice that my Contact Us page isn't being indexed. You can check which of your pages have redirects with external tools like Screaming Frog, or from your workspace in the URL Redirect Manager. And look, there is indeed a redirect on that page. If I click here, I'll be taken to the new page. So right now, when a user clicks on the contact link, they're actually getting redirected to the home page. I'll double check this with SEO Pro, and yes, we've got 301 moved permanently on the contact link, forcing us to a home page with a 200 OK status. In this case, I can just delete the redirect. Remember though, once it's been deleted, you can't reinstate it. Alternatively, if you wanted to change the redirect to contact, just click Edit and update the slug of either the old or the new URL. You might also check through your redirects and find that you have a redirect that's going to a missing page, resulting in a 404. In that case, you'll want to delete that redirect. Finally, you can't create an automatic redirect for a page that you've already manually redirected. To resolve that kind of conflict, click Fix Now on the pop-up. Now choose whether you want to update your manual redirect to the new URL slug, or keep the manual redirect you created. There are a few best practices to keep in mind when you're working with redirects. You'll find some resources in the description below that will help you get a better grasp. But here are some top-level things to consider. When you configure a redirect, make sure to test that it works. Every time you add a redirect, make sure you're linking to similar content. Be aware of backlinks you're affecting, and ask yourself whether the new location fits the user intent. Even though they're helpful, don't use redirects unnecessarily. It's an extra step for the servers and can slow down valuable traffic, or even create redirect chains and loops. Anytime you make changes, keep redirects concise and straightforward so you don't confuse the server. And work with your client to determine how long you should keep a redirect on their website. If you know you have popular backlinks from other websites, you might want to keep those redirects firmly in place. But if the old link is a distant memory, then it may be okay to delete them. Now you know how to set up a redirect. Feel free to check out the other resources in the description below if you're looking for a little more technical information before you start redirecting links on your clients' sites. Redirects are also a massive factor in migrating a site, whether that's from an old domain to a new one, or from, say, WordPress to Wix Studio. I've left 2 more articles in the resources below that will guide you through that process, from the fundamentals right through to the more advanced aspects of site migration. With Wix Studio Site Inspection, you can scan site pages for issues that could affect how they rank in Google search results. You can quickly spot the most important issues for your client's whole site in the Highlights section, isolate issues page by page in the Full Report section, or open a page's information panel to view detailed information about that page. So, from your workspace, head over to Website and SEO and click SEO. Go ahead and click Site Inspection. But first, we need to pull the data and inspect the site. Your client's site needs to be connected to Google Search Console because that's where we get our data from. And once you're in, you'll get valuable information that'll help you understand what Google has, hasn't, can, and can't index. Let's dig in and see what we've got. The Highlights section helps you understand the site's overall health in terms of Google indexing and beyond. If you look at this particular site, we have this many pages on it. Under Status Overview, we can see that this number of those pages are valid, which means that Google has been capable of indexing them, and it's decided to index them. That doesn't mean that the page will appear in Google's search results. Google might choose not to show the page for a number of reasons, including duplicate content or a security or quality issue. This number of my pages are invalid, so basically Google can't index them. This is usually down to some kind of error, or maybe you instructed Google not to index that page. If you fix the error, you can request Google to index that page again. This number of those pages are unspecified, meaning that Google isn't currently aware of those pages' existence. And lastly, this number of those pages are excluded, meaning Google successfully crawled the page but decided not to index it right now. If you see lots of these, don't worry. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's anything wrong with the page. For instance, Google recommends that you don't index blog archives or tag pages. So Wix Studio automatically adds a no index to those pages' robots meta tags. There are, however, some excluded statuses that you may want to take a look at. For a full list, check out the link in the description below. Under Top Status Details, you'll find more details as to why your pages receive the statuses you see in the first column. Next, we'll take a look at the full report section. Here, you'll get a page-by-page breakdown of everything referenced in the highlight section. You'll also see this extra column here for rich results, which we'll get into later. Let's use these two columns to identify, isolate, and fix an issue. Here, we have a blog archive page that's been excluded from Google's index because it's unknown. As we discussed earlier, this is a good thing. Neither our users nor Google want to find a blog archive page in the SERP. So Wix Studio automatically adds a no index to the robots meta tag. But if we scroll down, you'll see that this blog post has also been excluded from the index. It's been crawled, but currently not indexed. So Google read the page, but decided not to include it. To find out why, we'll click on the View More button. So this page is included in the sitemap, and it's also got our canonical tags. We can't know for sure why this wasn't included, but it might be because Google has another similar page that it's already included in the index. Google decided there's not much value on the page. There might not be enough content, or Google thinks it's low quality. Or you might check out the page and realize there's no content there at all. Once you've identified and solved an issue, you can individually resubmit that page to Google. You'll find instructions for that in the links below. Let's finish up with one last example that may help to improve your crawl.
Here you will see that my blog categories are discovered but not indexed.
Now, just like the blog archives, this isn't an indexing issue. We don't want Google to index these category pages. However, it's still spending time crawling them, and it would be better for us if Google would spend as much crawl budget as possible on pages that we actually want indexed. In this situation, it's a good idea to check out those category pages and see if there are any that you can delete. So here we've got 4 blog category pages. This category contains articles about tennis rackets, and this one houses articles about tennis shoes. But the gear category contains articles from both of those and nothing particularly original or fitting for this. If we check out the sitemap, you'll see that each of these categories is treated as a separate entity. So when Google crawls rackets and shoes, it's a waste of time for it to crawl gear just to index the same articles twice. Let's go to the category manager back in the workspace and delete this whole category. If, on the other hand, you had a category that was relevant but contained duplicate or irrelevant posts, you could simply remove those posts from that category in the Studio editor. This is a minor example, but if your client has a massive blog with tons of categories, you'll want to consolidate them into as few as you can. The same holds true for tags on blog posts. If they're unnecessary, remove them. There are a whole host of potential issues and error codes here, but most of them are self-explanatory. If you do come across something that doesn't make sense to you, check out the status code descriptions in the article linked in this video's description. Finally, let's check out the Rich Results column. You can use this to check for any rich results opportunities you're missing out on. To even be eligible for a rich result, you'll need to have properly implemented structured data markup. So all these no data statuses just mean that these pages don't have any structured data. Remember that Google doesn't support all types of structured data for rich results. Check out the link in the description below to find Google's current list of rich results features. Here, you'll see I've got a product page that includes structured data markup. In fact, all Wix Studio products pages come with preset structured data markup. If we go to View More, you'll see this page has valid product markup, making it eligible for a rich product result. And if we head to the About page, you'll see it's eligible for an FAQ rich result too. Remember though, just because you're eligible for a rich result doesn't mean Google will give it to you. You still need to make sure the content itself is of a higher quality than the other SEOs competing for the same rich result. Now that you know how to use it, make sure to periodically audit your site with the Site Inspection tool and look for optimization opportunities. Welcome to our lesson on Wix Studio's integration with Google Analytics 4, where we'll cover how to connect a Wix Studio site to the platform. As you'll probably know, Google Analytics collects data from websites, helping users analyze site performance. It's a popular tool among marketers and website owners to generate reports on site visitors, traffic, campaign statistics, conversions, and more. The good news is you can seamlessly integrate Google Analytics with a Wix Studio site by installing a Google tag into the marketing integrations page in the Wix Studio dashboard. We'll talk you through that shortly. Also, Wix Studio provides a set of ready-to-use business events like page views, clicks, leads, purchases, and more, which means you don't have to manually define them. Instead, your Google Analytics events are available right out of the box. It's worth noting that Wix Studio is built on a single-page application technology, or SPA for short. That means it takes a special approach to tracking, which might be different from other platforms you've used. Rest assured, any of these differences are covered from our side. The actions required by you are straightforward, and we'll guide you through them in our lessons. Now let's take a quick look at the events automatically triggered with Wix Studio. In this table, you'll see 13 different events that can help you track and monitor site activity and be used to set up conversions. Some will be more important than others, depending on the kind of website you're analyzing. For example, the Add to Cart, Begin Checkout, and Purchase events provide key insights for e-commerce sites, while Generate Lead captures more information on potential customers for any site selling goods or services. Okay, we'll cover events in more detail in the GA4 module. For now, let's look at how to set up Google Tag so you can connect a site to Google Analytics 4.
In Google Analytics, go to Create Account. Then follow the steps to create a property, describe your business, and choose your business objectives. Once you get to Data Collection, click on Web to set up your data stream. Now add your website URL and your stream name. Then click on the Settings button in the bottom right to configure Enhanced Measurement.
Here, configure the tag to be compatible with Wix Studio. First, you'll see that Page Views is always turned on. For page views on browser history change, toggle off to prevent data duplicity. Next, scrolls and outbound clicks should be switched on. Form interactions can be switched off because Wix Studio sends a special Generate Lead event to cover this. If you want to track YouTube video engagement, turn video engagement on. Otherwise, keep it off. Finally, switch file downloads on. Follow these steps and your toggles should appear something like they do here. Next, we'll install the tag received from Google.
To do this, copy the tag from your Google Analytics account. Then go to your Wix Studio dashboard, click Settings, and then choose Marketing Integrations. From this page, select the Google Analytics box and click on Connect. Then paste your tag here.
Note that you should never install a tag into the custom code. If you do, Google Analytics won't work properly. But you can connect additional tags through Google. In Google Analytics, go to Settings, then Data Streams. Next, select your tag, then open Manage Connected Tags. Here, you can add tags that will collect the same data as your main tag installed at Wix Studio. Next, we'll show you how to make sure your Google Analytics 4 works. There are two main steps in the GA4 verification process. First, we need to verify that the Wix Studio site sends tracking events. For this, go to tagassistant.google.com. There, add the Wix Studio site domain and select Connect. On the Tag Assistant, we can now see the data that fires on Wix Studio. Okay, now that we've verified that the tag is installed correctly and the events are firing, we need to verify that the data is flowing to the correct Google Analytics account. Without closing the Tag Assistant, go to Google Analytics, then Admin, and Debug View. Here, we'll be able to see all our site activities reflected in Google Analytics. If the cookie banner is installed on the tested site, make sure consent mode is explicitly given. Otherwise, no events will be shown in Google Tag Assistant or in Debug View. And that's it. You're all set up with Google Analytics 4. But before we conclude with this lesson, let's take a look at how to install a cookie banner. Many countries and regions have strict regulations when it comes to tracking site visitors. For example, if your site has EU or UK visitors, you must comply with European privacy regulations, such as GDPR. This applies to websites not just based in Europe, but with visitors from these regions. If you're unsure, always seek professional legal advice. But if your site operates in these countries and regions, you'll most likely need to install a cookie banner. A cookie banner is a notification often displayed when a user visits a site for the first time, letting them know about the cookies and trackers the site uses, and asking for their consent to store non-essential cookies on their devices. Okay, let's take a quick look at how to install a cookie banner. First, go to Settings in your Wix Studio dashboard and select Privacy and Cookies. Here you can enable your cookie banner by toggling on Display Cookie Banner on Site. In the text and display settings, you can customize the cookie banner according to the site design. By changing the color, font, and button settings of the banner, you can make sure the site stays completely on brand.
Quick tip about Google Analytics and cookie banners for your website. Using a cookie banner can actually reduce the site traffic recorded in GA4. Why? Because some visitors might not give their consent to be tracked. So if you see a drop in your GA4 numbers, don't worry, it's totally normal. Now, here's the flip side. Due to recent regulations that apply to Google as a company, not to you directly, if you don't have a cookie banner and your visitors are from countries that require consent, like those covered by GDPR, no data will be sent to Google Analytics. Google will only track sessions if visitors give their explicit consent. So, knowing these scenarios and your target audience, you can make an informed decision about whether to add a cookie banner to your site or not.
Okay, that's it for now on Wix Studio's integration with Google Analytics 4, but you can take a deeper dive into GA4 with Jill Quick in a later module. For now, you should have a good understanding of how to connect a Wix Studio site to the platform so you can better analyze site performance. Google Merchant Center is a free service from Google that can help store products get listed across a bunch of different Google products, including Google Search, Google Maps, YouTube, and more. Once you've connected your client store on their Wix or Wix Studio site to Google Merchant Center, their product listings will automatically sync to Google. It's a great way to get free listings for your clients on Google and to improve indexability in Google Search.
Go to Google Merchant Center Solutions in your site's dashboard. Click Get Started. Click Sign Up with Wix and complete the form to create a new account. Click Allow. Click Continue. Before you can continue, you need to fulfill Google's requirements by completing each of these steps. Google uses attributes to understand what products merchants are selling that shoppers also want. So make sure you're using the same terminology as Google. To align terminology, go to Google Merchant Solutions in your site's dashboard. Click the Settings icon at the top right. Select the Product Attributes tab. Match each of the terms you've used to label your product options to a Google attribute from the dropdown. Sometimes a match is automatically suggested. If your option doesn't match any Google attribute, select No Exact Match. To prepare products and list them on Google, go to Google Merchant Solutions in your site's dashboard. Select the product you want to list. Add or update any of these options in your store catalog if prompted to do so. Add Google attributes. Make sure you read Google's guidelines for each attribute. Make sure to check out the minimum requirements for each so the product doesn't get rejected by Google. If your product has a GTIN, ISBN, or UPC code, select this checkbox and enter the code. When your products are ready, make sure these toggles are switched on, and then click Save and List to list them on Google. This usually happens quickly, but it can take up to 3 days. Products that Google hasn't approved and listed can be accessed by clicking Disapproved. Check to see why these products weren't approved. If these problems can be fixed, update your settings and list the product again.
Now that you've completed setup, you can manage your Google Merchant account right in your Wix dashboard. However, if you want to access Google Merchant Center directly to take advantage of some of the more advanced capabilities, like advanced shipping or connecting to a standalone Google Ads account, you can do so by adding your Gmail account. Just head to the settings and click here to add your Google account. Once you've connected a store to Google Merchant Center, Google will consider listing those products across the web. And don't forget, you can help Google even more by including additional structured data to your clients' product pages.